and gentlemen, welcome to it.
Good morning to the folks. What up to the youngins and bless up to the world.
And then Jay just put your info on blast like that.
It's what the people want to know, bro. My bad.
Nah, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to it. It is the Morning Shake with me, your host, Xavier Hendricks. And of course, I am accompanied by my co-host, none other than Mr. J. Paris.
Good morning. December vibes, bro. It's lit. It's happening.
Bro, it's absolute fire. Listen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Please, what you want to do is you want to hit that subscribe button. Also, what you want to do is you want to hit the bell, the notification bell. What that does is it lets you know when we go live, every time we go live, or every time we post a video, or every time we do whatever it is that we're doing, and it lets you know. Today, we're up for an interesting show. We got a dope guest. I guess you can probably see from the thumbnail. You can probably see from the title of this video. We got a hella dope guest coming up today. We're going to be speaking about some cool things. But before we get to that guest, Jay, what's been happening, bro, as the weekend?
It was good, bro. Not bad at all. I'm just chilling now, bro. I mean, it's that time of the year where you just want to kick back, relax. I mean, it's been a crazy, hectic year. I mean, we were even working during COVID.
Bro, we were working hectic during COVID. COVID was one of those, like, people were taking breaks, people were staying at home, people were unsure about what the way forward is.
People like 3 months on vacation.
Bro. And we were like, when COVID started, that was, in fact, I can go out and argue that was the time we were working the most during that old
That was
period.
like every day from like 8 to like 6, 7 in the evening.
Yeah,
but it was worth it. It was worth it.
There was even one night we got caught on that curfew night, but we managed to wiggle our way out of it. that worked out in our benefit. Let's just put it that way. So there's some interesting things coming up, man. I've been following some YouTubers for like a long time,
bro.
And there's a weird thing going on, man, where the YouTubers are connecting or kind of crossing over into the mainstream media. And one YouTuber in particular always has been his dream to cross over from this YouTube space, because he felt like, you know, on the YouTube space, you're not being taken seriously, even though these guys were getting much more views, much more interaction, and on-demand views. Like, you could actually track you can track like how many people are watching, where they're watching from, what's the age groups and stuff. So I think mainstream media started paying attention that, these like YouTubers are actually, making a scene, and people are actually taking them seriously. So we got an interesting fight coming up.
A very, which for me, bro, personally, I don't know if Logan Paul deserves
to fight Floyd Mayweather.
We're speaking about TBE. We're speaking about the best ever. We're speaking about 50-0. Do you think Logan Paul's just been fighting for what? Couple of months?
He's been fighting, I think, 2 years or so.
But the big fight that he had against KSI,
he got knocked out. He got knocked out, definitely, yeah. So I've been following those guys like since day one. In fact, his brother's been doing a lot better with in the boxing scene than he has. But I think he's been practicing, he's been, going to the gym, he's been doing his thing. So I don't know if it's just a money move. Floyd makes money moves.
I think there's 100 million on this fight.
Yep, there's a lot on this fight.
100 million.
And Floyd even says, like, if it makes money sense, then I'm in.
Facts, but I don't think Logan has a chance. I was actually watching some videos of Logan, that KSI match. I was watching some videos and
bro, you can never say never, but it would be a hella upset if Floyd loses his 50-0.
Floyd is gonna toy around with him for the first 5 rounds.
And then knock him out.
Come the 6th round, the guy's gonna be extremely
Look,
exhausted.
It's gonna be an interesting fight, but I wouldn't necessarily want Floyd to lose his reigning, champion.
But
that would damage his reputation.
Do you think that counts though, because it's just an exhibition? I'm not too sure.
I don't know if it counts, but it would still be embarrassing.
Many people said Manny Pacquiao was gonna beat him.
But he couldn't.
TBE stepped up, and then this homie, what's his name? McGregor. Man, he said McGregor's gonna tap him out. Then guess what? TBE once again. So, nah,
the
bro.
money team's stronger than you think. But that is what it is, man. But listen, we got a dope guest, and I don't want to take any much more of your time. I want to get straight into our guest today. We will speak about that fight again later, and maybe while it's happening, we want to touch on that fight. We'll see how it goes, because I know big in the YouTube community, and of course now in the mainstream community that's happening. But ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do today is I want you to help welcome our guest on set today, none other than Ashley Sauls the First. Some of you may know him as Biza Vannie. But please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our guest today on set, Ashley Sauls the First. Let's go.
Watch out, bro. Watch out, bro. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. How you doing, Jay?
Good. Festive times. What you been up to?
Work, man. I've been working. My new life is demanding, and so I don't think I'm having holiday season this
Doesn't
year.
look like it. Listen, I wanted to get you as one of our first guests when we just started the show, but every time I tried calling you, I saw that you were there. You were
Yeah,
all over the
all
place.
over
I was
the-
like, nah, this guy, let's give him a second just to breathe.
But Jay looks confused, man. Doesn't look like he knows what's up.
Jay knows what's up.
Nah, I know what's up.
Jay
okay,
knows
okay.
what's up. Jay knows
It's
what's
just
up.
my response is like,
He's like,
I know what's
What
up.
the
I
hell?
mean, I saw you, and we'll probably tap into this. I saw you at an event. It was actually at the Factories event with bodyguards and the whole vibes and so forth on. So just based on that,
And Jay was like,
you know this is a busy guy.
this is a busy guy. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who do not know, part of my familiarity with the industry, as far as being able to be comfortable behind this microphone, is largely thanks to Ashley himself.
Thank
He was producing a show on a local radio station in El Dorado Park called Elders FM. And so I was showing a bit of interest, and he hit me up like, do you want to be a part of this thing? I was like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. And then I came, he was running a show called, what was it again? Sheesh, I can't even remember.
I did Faith Talk. I did.
But that Friday one,
You did
overdose. Yeah, overdose. And so, so the whole premise was based on, the drug abuse and all that kind of thing. So we're saying that let's overdose on positivity, not necessarily, negativity. And so that's how I got a lot of my start in the game, as far as being comfortable behind the microphone. So big shout out to you on that one, man.
No, man, I think the fact that he said yes, it was a privilege to us at the time when I was at Elders FM, because, I mean, Zakes is an astute pioneer when it comes to stuff that has to do with young people and stuff. And I don't think that at the time there was anybody more better suited for that particular show and for the time and season that we were in. So the fact that you said yes, man, and the truth is, it's more of a thank you to you for saying yes, because
It's a mutual gratitude. I think it's a mutual gratitude.
Before we really get into it, I mean, you say you're Ashley Sauls the First.
Yes, sir.
I want to know, what's your love life looking like? Because if there's the first, of course, there should be the second, the third, the fourth coming up.
Well, that depends on my son. So I've been married before. I'm no longer married. I'm divorced, unfortunately. And out of the marriage, I have two kids, two beautiful kids, and which obviously is my world. And my son, I've got a pigeon pair. So I got a daughter who's 8 years old, Bailey Olufemi Sauls, and then I got my son, who is now 3 years old, and he's named after me,
And he's
Ashley
the second.
Sauls, the second. And the reason why the second is because I don't want him to be junior. Because I mean, if he becomes an adult, just logically that just doesn't go with me. If my son is a man and I call him junior. So I'd rather have him be the second, and then also, even though he carries my name, he should feel that he's his own individual. He's not a smaller version of his dad, so he doesn't need to sort of like live in my shadow. He's the second, and as the second, he can do and live the way he wants to live, and path his own way. And so that's the reason why there was a little fight, because in South Africa they don't really do first and second or whatever.
Yeah, that's a very African American style. How they
But I won
used
the
to do.
fight.
You won the fight, and
Come
I
on,
heard
come
you
on,
talking
come on,
about
come on.
the
and
money
much-
team.
much like anything Ash puts his hand to, he wins. Listen, whenever I'm in a pickle or I need something sorted out, the first person on my speed dial is Ash, bro. This is what I'm facing. What do I do? How do you think I should go about it? And we spend like 2-3 hours just
Yeah.
on that call. Like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
I think the best way to go about it is do this, do that, go this way, go that way. And again, man, thank you. You're so rich when it comes to just understanding. You have a history in law.
Yes.
Could you take us through to how did you get through? I know you dabble a little bit in law,
Yes.
and then you started moving into politics. Just take us
Yes.
through that journey.
Well, I mean, I had this dream that I just wanted to. I hate. Let me put it this way. I hate it when I see the underdog being mishandled, marginalized. I just can't see anybody treat another person that is weaker. In an inhumane way. So I always respond. I'm always on the side of the underdog or the weak person, always. And so I thought doing law is going to help me to fight for the weak person,
justice,
for
yeah.
justice for the weak person. It's always it's in my makeup, right? And then I started to study law, completed school, and immediately went to varsity, studied an LLB, and I think I went up to like the third level, and then I had this strong call, man, that I felt for ministry, and I really felt like it went on for like 2 years. So I did well. Everything was going well until I decided, okay, no, this call, I feel it very strong on my life to go into ministry. And then I switched from an LLB to BTH, and then I did a bachelor's in theology.
Okay, so we alumni on that one, probably not from the same place.
No.
What was the craziest case that you've been a part of though? Where you really had to defend an underdog?
I don't think, did you get to the point where you were actually in court defending cases? No.
No.
You were still busy
Obviously,
studying.
I was studying,
and
and then but then through. I thought he was referring to community activism because then I used what I've learned, my knowledge there to help within the community. So one of the craziest things was, I think, this young man from Kliptown. He was born in South Africa. His parents was born in South Africa, or one of his parents. I don't know the facts that clearly anymore. But there was an issue with his surname from his father's side or something, and they didn't want to give him an ID, but he's born here. And he was doing his matric year that year, and so he was not going to be able to do it if he doesn't have an ID, that kind of thing. Madondo was his maiden surname, or his mother's surname, and his father, because there was an issue with his father's surname. I don't know, was his father foreign or whatever. But then for some reason that didn't make sense to me. I'm not clear about the facts, but it was many years ago. And this was the most interesting case. And then I went at a young age, right? And that's why it's interesting, because I was still very young. And then we went to Home Affairs, man. And I took this boy with me. And then I spoke to the director of Home Affairs.
Come on.
And I'm like, y'all gonna give this guy an ID? And I studied the legislation that related to that, and I put it to this guy, man. I was still young, and I put it to this guy, and the guy was convinced. As we speak today, that boy still has an ID, but it's just that he's using the surname Madondo. But then they actually found in legislation a way to give him an ID legally.
Sheesh. So you fought that
fought
case
that,
to the
man.
point where it actually came to pass.
I did. That
Then-
was the most interesting highlight
is
for me
interesting.
amongst all the other fights.
That is interesting. Jay, do you have anything else that you want to jump on?
Nah.
No, because I want to get to the part where it actually starts getting a little bit juicy, right? Because you recently switched gears.
Yeah.
And knowing you personally, I understood where you were coming from and where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
But you had a lot of pushback in media. You had a lot of pushback with just people in general. Just screw it open. So you had a lot of pushback in media. You had a lot of pushback with people in general that didn't understand where you were coming from and where you were trying to go. And you switched gears big time, ministry-wise. You started going strongly into the activism side of things. You started going strongly into the the political side of things, actually. And you had a lot of drama going on during the time of the divorce, during the time of switching gears. What was that transition period like?
It was extremely difficult. I mean, the things people were saying online and everywhere else, it's like if you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and public misunderstands it, it's amazing how public just decides without facts that this is the conclusion, and it's amazing how people draws their own conclusions and then goes viral with it, and then it's always the lie that goes so viral. It's amazing that it's like somebody's getting paid some huge commission, man, to spread a lie.
The lie is juicier than the truth.
Yeah.
And people are convinced, and so that's, I think, what made it very difficult. But I thank God that I was able to just keep focused on what I know I'm called to do, and whatever the journey is, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in community activism, and now in politics, whatever my journey is, I had to be comfortable with this is me, and no matter what people outside says or thinks, and even if they misconstrue the facts, I then thought to myself, more people actually knows about me now. So that's actually free marketing.
Publicity.
So,
Publicity.
So now I wait for somebody to find
something to
to
talk about.
They
because
speaking good or bad, they talking.
and it helps, I mean, if someone doesn't like me, and then goes and spread a lie about me to his friends, and he does to his friends, the truth of the matter is, if it wasn't for this person spreading that, his friends would not have checked me out. I would never have had that audience, because this person doesn't like me, so he would never have spoken about me about me. So his friends would never have known about me unless he created a lie, and for that reason, now he might still not be a part of the fan base or whatever.
But now
his
introduced
friends
somebody to the fan base.
That's why you should love your enemies, man. Love them for spreading.
promote
Your
you.
haters are your promoters.
They promote you.
but I think that's part of what I was just gonna ask now. Do you find that sometimes people who come across as haters are actually people who are following you?
Yes, I mean, how on earth do they have everywhere you've been, where you go? I think they are
They're actually the fans.
They're your real followers, man.
Because they're trying to find dirt, but in the process, they actually starting to follow the stories. They're starting to get involved in your life, and all of a sudden they start becoming fans.
That's why I love them, man. Love your enemies. These guys are helping us.
But how do you grow thick skin towards that, though? I mean, has there ever been a situation where, this knocked me KO?
Yeah. And if that's the case, the underlying undertone of that statement is that you don't really grow thick skin, because if you knock me out, I haven't grown thick skin, because the notion is if you grow thick skin, it doesn't affect you. But it does. And I think that the key is not to grow thick skin. I think the key is to embrace what you feel at that moment. If it hurts you, feel the hurt. Feel the hurt. Be honest about the fact that, yes,
That was...
like, really? Cry about it if you have to. I cried many times. And then I get up and I realize how weak I am. And then it hits me. In my weakness, his strength is made perfect. In other words, that the conducive condition for the strength of God to be made perfect in your life is weakness.
Yeah.
So if you grow thick skin and you never get weak, you never experience this perfect strength of God.
So here's a question. Do you read the comments?
Yes, I read the comments.
I'll tell you why I asked that question. You alluded earlier to the fact that that I'm also prevalent in the young scene.
Yeah.
And there was a time where
you a pioneer, man. Come on.
there was a time
this guy turned the church into a disco before everybody.
Facts.
Just started that trend, and that was the time where we're really pioneering that season. And I always used to make this analogy where I used to say, guys, look, when you're walking through what we call a Kasi language, a veld, you're walking through the veld, a double up. When they say, you don't have to walk around the whole block, just double up through the veld. When you first walking through the veld, which is technically a field, empty space with high grass and all that, there is no path when you're the first one walking through it.
Yes.
But as you begin to walk through that same path every day, the grass and stuff that was growing there dies, and the ground where the grass was growing becomes compacted and it becomes hard, which means the grass can no longer grow there. So the next person who comes through that felt sees a path there, and now they're like, oh, there's a path here, let's walk through this path. And then they wander through that path. But then I always say the first person that walked through that path had blackjacks on his pants, had thorns poking him, going through his shoes or her shoes, had branches slapping them in the face. And after they have managed through that path a number of times, there is now a path there. So the next person comes, just walks through it, not understanding the challenges that the first person had to face and go through. And when I was doing that, in many ways, I had branches slapped in my face. I had, blackjacks on my pants. I had thorns poking me from all sides. And I had people just talking a lot of trash about what I was doing. And I got to a place where I was like, maybe I should stop reading the comments, because those comments would take me off into a spin. Maybe I shouldn't reply to the comments. Maybe I shouldn't, because what that comment would do, that like probably I'd have like 1,000 comments, and then 999 would say, yo, bro, we watched you this, we watched that, we like what you're doing here, da 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 da. And then that one person would say, yeah, you're doing this and that for attention and this. And then that one person's comment that you read, bro, you like, how can this person say this? How can this? And then you start responding to that thing. And that's why my question says, do you read the comments?
Yes. I mean, your question is, do you read it? It's not, do you respond to it? So, yes, I read the comments.
Deal with both.
Okay, I'll deal with both. So I read the comments because it trains my mind, because you have to literally train your mind not to respond. You have to train your mind to believe that this person might give you constructive criticism, then you judge it. If this is not constructive, now I ignore it.
Throw it out. The
reason why you shouldn't not read it is because that might be constructive criticism. Because remember, you have a multitude of fans. Excuse me. So your fans most often will sing your praises. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're gonna shout your praises, man. So sometimes your fans will not critically look at what you're doing, and then there will be this guy who is critically looking
and sees the loophole.
Yes, but then he or she is constructive. So if that person is constructive, then that helps. Then you like take that and say,
there's a point.
But then you can see a hater. That's just, there's no substance. That's just, and then you train your mind to ignore that. Obviously, this one person is going to stand out, because if there's a whole hall full of people sitting down, the guy who stands up is going to stand out. Mm-hmm. It's not because he has substance. It's just merely because everybody's sitting and he's standing. Mm-hmm. So attention is going to go to him. And my greatest hero is Jesus. I'm telling you, there's just no greater person that I learned from. And I mean, Jesus in that human form and how he dealt with stuff. It's like what we have for Facebook today. He went up on this mountain, and then he asked his 12 friends, who do you say I am? So it's like he's literally posting a picture of himself, uploading it on the mountain of Facebook, and then asking everybody else to comment, like, what do you think about me? Mm-hmm. And then everybody says what they says, and then he reads the comments. Mm-hmm. They say, you are Jeremiah, you are what? They all wrong. Mm-hmm. But he read it. Mm-hmm. Because they will always be wrong about you. Mm-hmm. Right? And then he narrows it down, who do you say that I am? And then 11 out of 12 was wrong about him. Mm-hmm. But he read it. Mm-hmm.
And one only had the revelation.
And he didn't respond. Mm-hmm. And then one comes and one goes, da 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 da. And that one has a revelation. And then he says, flesh and blood has not revealed that to you. What does that say? That says that when he asked the question, he already knew who he was. Mm-hmm. So you got to go onto these platforms and know who you are. Because that's why he could say, flesh and blood has not revealed that to you. Because he knew who he was. That's why he could validate the revelation that Peter got. Because you right, they wrong, you right, because he knew who he was.
He knew that. That's the narrative.
That's the narrative. Yeah. So that's why when we gotta go into the public arena knowing who we are, man. And as we grew up, we didn't always have that right. because we also in a phase of discovering who we are. But now I know who I am. So when I go on Facebook or wherever, I can go in council, man. I can go anywhere.
You can do whatever, and people can say whatever.
They can say
You're
whatever.
okay with. You comfortable with who you are.
Because, can I just say this?
Go for it.
Because when you reach your next level of exposure to the destiny that God has ordained for you, you must remember that God, before we were formed in our mother's wombs, God knew what God has called us to do. And so God will prepare us for that. But you need a certain type of body for the next level of your vision. And I like to put it this way: when Jesus was crucified, died, you have to die to your vision, right? And then God resurrected. Now Jesus has a resurrected body. He has a resurrected body, and this resurrected body allows him now to walk through walls instead of knock on doors. So you reach a place where you because of crucifixion, persecution, all of that, it happened with me. I have a different body for my vision now. I no longer pray for open doors.
You walk through.
I
the
walk
door.
through walls. Secondly, that you'll have Thomas will always be there. Thomas will always be there on Facebook, on WhatsApp, wherever. That's going to, like, he can see the holes, man. This guy will still want
proof.
He can see your fruits. He can see the impact, but will still want proof and want to have something to say. And then he will feel your holes. But here's the power of it. The power of it is because of the new form of body that you have for your vision. You have holes in your body, but you're no longer bleeding.
That's powerful. That is fire. That is fire. So talking.
Taking us to church on a Monday morning.
Come on, let's do it. So talking about that exposure and that obviously what people think and what people say. You call me up one day. You say, Ziggs, go like my new page. I started a thing. I'm like, okay. So I go there and there's like 10 likes there, and I like it. Not so long after that, I go there and there's freaking 20,000 likes on this thing. I'm like, yo, what the heck is this guy doing? Now, all of a sudden, he went from nobody knowing him to the entire South Africa knowing him. Yeah. Then I start getting calls. Yeah. Isn't that friend of yours that what? Yeah. Ishman, please ask him to this and this, and please ask him to come in. And I'm like, whoa, relax. I can't just be giving out the homie's number all over the show. Let me first phone it, and then I call him, hey, bro, listen, these people want you here, they want this, they want that. Should I do it? Yeah, no problem, give them. And so that journey, bro, from going from that, I almost feel like it's and we were together in a service one Sunday where a preacher was speaking about the birth process and about how you gotta, like, you know, save your power and your energy for the delivery. Yeah. And I know your birth pains and your riding on your donkey while Mary's pregnant, and it's uncomfortable, and now you're giving birth in a barn with a stink pig here and there's a this and a this. But then eventually when the baby comes out, it's just a pull, elevates you straight to the top. Take us through that journey of just that birth pains that you touched a little bit on, the days you had to cry your way through it. But then this one day, things just start moving.
Yeah, it's just putting your life in the hands of God, man. I'm not gonna say it any different. I am unapologetic about the fact that I am here today because of God's hand upon my life. I would have died, let me tell you. I would have died under all of that pressure. It is too tough. It is too difficult. But if it has not been for the Lord on my side, I would not have been here right now. I can tell you that.
What does your mom do in that moment that moment of brokenness?
My greatest hero, man. My mom, when I lost everything, my family, my everything, and now I've got to act like I'm some baby daddy because I got to visit my kids and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, who would have thought? You know how I lived my life. Who would have thought that plus that will put me here? I got married as a virgin. I did everything by the book, and I got divorced. I mean, that's not how the story's supposed to end, right? And then I didn't cheat. I got divorced. How does that happen to someone like me? So it broke me, man. And when it comes to church, I'm like, What happened to building the broken? You know, what happened to standing? Everybody was screaming for my sermons and stuff like that when my time came for them to, you know,
To embrace you and to be
now,
around you.
Don't blame the church. It's people. Right? And I realized, religion, my definition, religion is a failed human attempt to explain God. God cannot be explained.
Agreed.
God can only be experienced.
Facts.
For years, people has tried to explain God and failed. And so God is love. Anybody here who's in love, will know you cannot explain that feeling.
Facts.
But you know what it is because you can experience it. That's why God says God is love. And so we are not meant to explain God. We are meant to experience God. Those who are called into ministry, their jobs is not to explain God. Their jobs is to create a conducive environment in which people can experience God. And so I realized this can happen from men and people. I just need to experience God in this time. And my mom comes 12 o'clock, midnight, man. She's this short. She pours oil on me and she anoints me. That same day, something fell off of me and something fresh came up on me. I can't explain it. And amazingly, how my journey switched is people's testimony is usually, I was a drunkard and and then the testimony is the flip is I turned into a pastor. Well, I was a pastor.
It's flipped the switch.
And then God flipped it, and the character of a drunk man is what shifted it for me.
But take us through that experience that took place. I mean, what did God speak to you, or what took place from law to pastoring to this
To a drunk man.
to this character?
For those of you who don't know, that's Biza Vannie.
Biza Vannie, when it buys it in Mazacanas, when it buys it in English, don't Biza.
I want to know, bro, what were you getting from the Lord in that process?
Yes,
Is this deliberate from God?
Yes. It's deliberate from God. God said to me, I'm going to do a new thing in your life, but it's part of your journey. My purpose for you has not changed. It is aligned with what I've called you to do. I always knew what I'm called to do. And I'm going to say this publicly. And I know that we heard a powerful sermon that, don't speak about stuff too early. But I have said this all my life. Zakes will know that I'm going to be the president of this country. And I said it on the insides. Show, okay? I'm going to
Exclusive, Papa.
I'm going to be
Sitting
the
with
president.
the president. I'm sitting with the president. Come closer, bro. Listen. That's a big picture. That's a big picture.
And the thing is, I didn't know how I'm going to get there. That's what I'm trying to tell. And the reason why God said to me, I need to say it. I need to say it because that's my model. I need to say what God's going to do. If you look at everything that I've ever done, Zakes will know that I've always said before it happens, I've always said, God said I must do this. And then I don't have a clue how it's going to happen. Then it happens. The whole Washington, D.C. thing, sleeping on the street, and then it happens. So mine is to say it first. And God said the reason why I must say it is because people will think it's impossible. Then when it happens, then everybody must know it must have been the Lord. So that's my model. So that's what I'm saying. I'm going to be the president of this country. Right? Don't ask me how. I just know I'm going to get there. Right? So that's the process of God. That's the experience that I had. So I have this journey for you. You are going to get there. I had no idea how am I going to get there. And God gave me this concept in the middle of lockdown. God gave me this an Biza, and God said, just do this. And I just did it, and I was having fun with it.
You went on a live and you just started speaking.
And I started just doing crazy stuff with Biza.
So this part of your journey, though, what would you say the purpose is, though, for this part of the journey? I mean, Biza going to these parties.
I have a thought on that,
Yeah.
but maybe I don't know. Should I share my thought? If you want to answer?
What is this?
Can I share my thought?
What
and then
is
you
the
see
purpose?
Before you share the thought,
This cup that you carry around is what's in it, bro?
Where's the cup? You're supposed to bring it.
Biza has his own miracle wine. Right, so I can't
Miracle.
give everything of Biza away here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you interviewing actually Sauls the first, right? So Biza has this cup and there's stuff in there, right? I mean, he's like so close to God that he has this miracle wine. The reason why he had wine when everybody was barred from having wine during lockdown is because that cup allows water to be turned
Turn
into
into
wine.
wine.
No, I don't beef with what's in that cup. It's cool. I mean,
So he has like a bottomless supply of good wine.
Can I share my thought now?
go,
I don't know. Can I share?
I wanted to say
Okay, yeah, go for it.
because what he asked was what was so spiritual and divine about that experience. This is what it was. It's like God said to me, "Look, I'm going to change your image, but I'm going to keep the bone." See, we all have skeleton below our skin. Although there's different layers of our skin, but we have a skeleton, the bone. When you put the body underground, the flesh deteriorates. But you can come 500 or 5,000 years after, and you'll still find the bones there. So we gotta be clear that there's not a problem with changing the flesh. You see, what differentiate us from each other, if we just stood here as skeletons, no one would have said that's Zix, that's Jay, that's Ashley. It's the skin over our skeleton that differentiates us from each other,
That
that gives
identity.
us image, right? So what is key is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Flesh deteriorates, bone stays for a long time. So your vision, your call, your purpose is the bone of your life, right? And then flesh is the image, the name you give it. And that can change over time, but the bone remains. That's how when Jesus was on the cross, they could stab him, they could whip him, but when they came to want him to break the bones, it's like, whoa, don't touch the bones. Because when you touch the bones, you touch the foundation, the structure of the vision. So my bone is still the same. That's why you can hear me talk the way I talk. I talk like I talked 10 years ago. But the image has changed. It's no longer Pastor Ashley, it's Biza. The image has changed, but the bone structure is still the same. That's what happened to me.
Okay? My thought.
yeah, go for it, bro.
My thought on the question you asked, right? Which obviously ties into what Ash is saying, is that God used that Biza character. For a large part of it is for publicity. Because I feel like after that character popped off, but what we use in 21st century, we call a word, it went viral. So when a video went viral, it started going viral all around South Africa. I'm talking about in the Eastern Cape, the Western Cape, literally everywhere in some area there that you've never heard of. And my father likes to say, put onder water, somewhere in Koffiefontein or wherever, people were laughing to these Biza videos. But then because like Ash said, the bone, the fundamentals were still there, you could use the quote-unquote character of a drunk person, but then still bring such a powerful message through still that, because no matter who watches Biza, as much as it's funny and as much as we're talking about the nonsense here and there, it's still in the essence of it is like, but guys, at the end of the day, we need to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Then people are watching us saying, "Yo, yeah, it's waar, it's true. We must stand together now. I think it's time for us to this and this and this." So that's my thought on that part of the journey. The 100%. Fact that it just went viral.
In essence, my purpose for which I've been sent on the earth for has not changed. The bone structure is still the same, but the image has changed.
But it gives you a different reach also, because remember, the pastor was reaching the people in the church. Now Biza is reaching everyone else.
And that's becoming all things to all men to win them. It is changing the image, but not the bone. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I definitely
the
understand.
Substance, my message has not changed, but my image has changed. And it's working. And the church is a bit uncomfortable about that, but you cannot deny the impact, right? You can do whatever you want, but you leave people to cry about, the cup, the wine, the whatever. But then that shifted, because God then said to me, I want you, just like God said about Israel, when God sent Jesus and said, go to Israel. But then he first said to the disciples, go to the lost sheep of Israel. Go to South Africa, but go specifically first to the lost sheep of South Africa. Who's that? The classified colored people. And I'm gonna give you a character that's gonna speak directly to this group of people, because out of this people, who is such a diverse family structure, that we are literally raised in the University of Racial Integration. Why? So that our biological construct, we have been lost through marginalization, lost through being frowned upon. But now God is raising us up. Why? Because we are called to bring this nation together. And Biza then reached those people. The message is clear, and guess what? It went from comedy to activism.
Big facts.
And now there's a balance of comedy and activism. Next thing you
and
know,
that was a
because it's my nature, I did a chicken licking thing, and it was just comedy because of the toy. But then my activism and that thing of the underdog came up, and then I challenged chicken licking through Biza, and then the response was crazy. And then the next thing you knew, I felt like I don't have enough power because I just have a fan base, but I can't really help people. And then I thought I need a vehicle. Then I said, and Biza came up, and Biza said, "Ik gaan politics gaan." Because op mijn lemma, ik kan voor kliks toemaken. En die mensen luisteren. Jullie vat foto's met mij en alle Amerikanen, jullie leven changes. So ik ga nou aan politics. It was just said like that. And then political parties approached me.
but before you go into that, and which is where we're going to go into, and then we're going to end it. We're taking you guys through the journey, literally from where it started and where it is now. I was watching, you went live in front of Chicken Licken.
Yeah. A chicken licken.
Chicken licken.
I'd like to use the inside show to be clear what Biza thinks about.
So lich in Afrikaans means you a liar, right? And so that's what he's saying, chicken liars. So the funny part is, it's not funny actually. The interesting part is that you went, I was watching the live. You were outside Chicken Licken and you were setting up the table.
Not me,
man. On Biza.
Yeah.
Set up the table, and the story you were driving home is that look, we are being marginalized, we're not being listened to.
Yes.
People are not taking us serious. So instead of, for lack of a better term, trying to, beg them or lick their backsides, what we gotta do is now set up your own table. Then you went onto this whole
like this.
Exactly.
We're sitting, and we're sitting in a studio that's not at some 702 whatever, but it's the same quality, the same standard, state of the art. And guess what? A classified colored owns this.
Major facts. So you set off onto this journey of, let's start setting up our own tables now. Because really, it's the point now is that we can't keep on like, please, that kind of, that attitude of like, ish. And then we're like, no. Let's set this up for ourselves. Let's help each other and let's do this. So you were busy driving back from the Chicken Licken situation. And you were in the car. And as you're driving, you were still on live. And now I'm seeing people at the robots. Beep, beep, beep. Biza, ons is op pad. No, we moeten kom support. Ja, no, het is klaar, meneer Biza. You drive. Then the next robot, somebody, Biza is op pad, no Chicken Licken. Yeah. So what started happening is people were like, we're watching the live, because at the point it was like 12,000 views or something, like, hey, we're watching this live. This guy's here. Let's go be there. And people literally started getting into their cars and driving to where you were. Yeah. And for me, I was watching it and I'm like, okay, this is where this turning point happens. To the point where a fun video can literally start becoming actual activism in reality.
Yes, sir.
We were laughing now and we're joking now and we're having a good time. But on this side now here, people are actually responding in reality. And I think that balance between having thousands of views and, having a blue tick on your IG and all of that, between that, social media fame and turning it into reality, that's a balance that people don't get to strike. It's like, you want to be famous for what? And then now you're famous and then what now must happen with that fame? But you managed to take that sense of viralism or fame or whatever you call it, and you actually turned it into, all right, guys, now we're going to move. And people responded.
Yes.
And people responded positively.
And then people said to me, if I'm gonna shift into politics, because when I made that statement that I need
You need something stronger.
I have a fan base, but unlike Malema, he has political power to change things. And then that activism
He
came
can
out.
make moves.
He can make moves. I want to be able to make moves for my people. And then that's when the shift happened. To
And
say
then
that.
so now let's take us to that as we rounding off. Or did you want to jump in on something?
No, it's cool.
Okay, take us to the father.
To the
to the pa.
Oh, and then the shift happened. Then I was like, look, I need a political vehicle in order to actually bring about change in this country, and then boom, political parties came to approach me, and I mean like literally political parties.
I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Had meetings. We want you to come over. I had two questions. My first question was, what programs do you have in place for the classified colored people to get them out of being marginalized? Two, what role do you see me play to that end? People spoke for 45 minutes, others for 1.5 hours, and no one answered properly. I speak to an ex-con, and I guess that's the thing about being an ex-con. You don't have time to waste.
It's like, I know where I come from. I know what needs to be done.
I speak to an ex-con, and he didn't con me. He didn't give me some corny mess. He answered under 5 minutes, and I was convinced. And I was like, this is what I want to do, and this is who I want to do it with. And obviously, I felt the move of God in that session. It's amazing how God has handpicked that combination. And then the shift happened, and I realized, ladies and gentlemen, when we say proudly the classified colored, and we say that this is who we are, you must remember, South Africa must get to know that when we say this, we actually mean everybody. It is not a racial exclusion to say that, oh, this is about coloreds. No, this is about saying that, listen, the uniqueness of us is that we are connected to every single race.
We incorporate everyone.
So when I say my people and I refer to coloreds, I'm saying everybody.
Everyone.
Because we link to Indian, we link to Chinese, we link to, and the reason why the attempt is to hide us away. The reason why that's the case is because if you are a criminal and you want to hide away evidence that's going to get you in jail, you are going to make sure you keep that evidence away. The apartheid ideology of racial segregation that is even practiced today, and we are hard hit by it, is criminal to its highest degree. And we are the evidence that is being hidden away, because we are the evidence that that ideology is a lie. Because if you say one race cannot fall in love with another race, then you come, here we come. We are physical evidence that that's not true.
Facts.
So keep us away, because we are the evidence of that. The classified colored, ladies and gentlemen, and we must own this. We are not confused. We are interracially infused. We are a biological prototype of racial integration. And God has called us to bring this nation together. The reason why we cannot hate a black person is because if you hate a black person, if I hate a black person, I might be hating my grandfather. You can't hate a white person because in your lineage, you might have a white great-grandfather. You might have an Indian aunt. So you can't hate on anybody. We cannot look down on anybody because we are everybody. And therefore, we have been raised to bring this nation together. And so we must first, because we lost in our identity. That's why you go to Israel, but Jesus said to the disciples, but first go to the lost sheep of Israel. We go to South Africa, but we first go to the lost segment of South Africa, which is the classified colored. And then God is raising them up, and ours is not to create some exclusive place to live, but rather to include everybody. So everybody watching the show, you better get ready, because the classified colored is coming to build a new table that's going to include everybody, and that is what our mission is. And then I got into politics, and the rest is history, man. Today I'm a sworn in PR counselor for the city, on my way to even greater things, and you all know, until I end up on that seat.
How are you gonna make a change or a difference in this nation? I mean, I've heard people say that God has called pastors to pastor the church, and then he's called presidents to lead the nation. So being a pastor as well on this journey that you took us through, there's a lot of things as a nation that Christians or pastors won't necessarily, from the Bible, they won't accept. You know, there's a lot of things, and I don't know if we can go into that.
Let's go.
But
Go for it, bro. It's what the people want to know.
it's what, like, you know, the LGBT community and so forth on. How do you accept that and lead that, being the president, but you know that you also a pastor? What are the
My job is not to promote doctrinal dispositions. Mine is to lead a country. And if we talk about God, we are talking about the experience that we spoke about earlier. We're speaking about the experience of love. That's how you experience God. So make no mistake, I'm not going into politics because I'm here to satisfy some Christian doctrine. Because as I said earlier, religion is what shunned me away. The experience of God is what brought me here. And so everybody needs to experience God. And to be a pastor and going into politics is actually the best thing that could have happened to this country. Because the church is the best political school you can find on the face of the earth. As a matter of fact, I think everybody that wants to go into politics must go learn in ministry.
Church. Substantiate.
But the thing, but that's what I'm saying. I
I
mean,
wanted him to
now
go
you
to
get
spread out onto that.
Yeah,
now because that's a good point that you make. But now you get different religions within,
Yes.
obviously within the country.
yes. And I'm saying that if God has an issue with a Muslim or a whatever, why is God allowing these people to continue to be born? I'm trying to say my job is not to tell someone there's a problem with your religion. As a president or as a politician, my job is to serve the citizens of this country. Irrespective of what your religious disposition is, you need water. You need good roads. I mean, does it matter whether it's a Muslim driving on this road or whether it's a gay or a lesbian person driving on that road? That person gets hungry the same way I get hungry. I'm supposed to make sure that everybody in this country has a good food supply. And I hear your question,
But
but
ultimately, we want, you know, our purpose is to get people saved. Go and make disciples.
yeah, but what does that mean? Does that mean you want to give someone?
Are you trying to get South Africa saved?
I'm trying to
Ultimately, of course.
I'm trying to get South Africa to be God conscious, to understand that there is a God and that I will never move away from that. But if I sit in the seat of politics, I am called by God to serve the entire nation on issues that is bread and butter issues every single day.
People's livelihoods.
People's livelihoods. I'm not going to allow that to be tainted by, okay, y'all got to get saved. This country will never be a Christian country. Let me tell you that. Never. This country will never be an Islamic country. Forget it. There'll never be an Indian, whatever religion. It will never be that. But it must be a God-fearing country. It must be a country that is founded on morals, that is founded on certain values. It must be a prosperous country where all of us can live together. All races can live together, and we build this country as patriots. In this country, and make this country a good place for good people to live in again. This place will be uncomfortable for criminals. This place will be uncomfortable for racists.
Facts.
Right? And so that's what I'm trying to say. And so to substantiate what I'm saying about the country should be happy that it's someone that comes from the church, because it is the church that teaches you how to serve people selflessly. Go see those who went to political school. They're in it for themselves. So you better be glad that I come from church, that I don't look for my reward from men. I look at it from God. I don't care whether you hate me, don't hate me, but if I know that I am serving people with a genuine heart that seeks to change the lives of even the poorest of the poor, and I don't want a reward or a Nobel Peace Prize, that my reward is with the Lord, you better be happy that I am the one who's running for that. Right?
I agree.
You president of South Africa, we sitting with this COVID-19 situation. God tells you that's a Baal. Don't fall for it. And I know there's a lot of pastors that say, this is not from God, it's a lie, and so forth on. So what do you do? Ultimately, you are a Christian and you are called, I believe. You have a purpose, a destiny, a vision that God has given you. What do you do in those situations? Because reading the Bible, almost everyone in the Bible went against the grain.
I'm going against the grain, but the grain needs to be defined as not just what you call outside of Christianity, because there's a grain even in Christianity. There's things in Christianity that has been misconstrued to hold people back. Like Christianity would say, "What the hell are you guys doing? Why aren't y'all talking the Bible the whole time for the past 45 minutes?" But you're going against the grain because you understand that there's real issues that you need to deal with. Similarly, so with the COVID thing, before you make a call, let's look at what the situation really is. I'm not just going to come and throw Christianity on it and say, oh, let's just close our eyes and pray for this thing to go away. No. What's the science? What's the facts? And then on a balance of probabilities with a multitude of counsel, that's scripture. In the multitude of counsel, there's direction. Do you see what drives me? So now I said I follow the principle. And then I sit down and we say, with the multitude of counsel from the medical field, from the scientific field, what is going on here? How is this going to affect our country? And then through the wisdom that God has given us, we then determine this is the route that we're taking. This is the direction that we're taking in a multitude of counsel. Yeah. What will happen with a president like me is you can be sure that nobody is going to try and fit stuff in so that one person can benefit, and you talk about a vaccine here and a vaccine there. I'm going to have to make sure it's really a vaccine and it's not something that wants to destroy the lives of the people that God has given me responsibility over. And so somebody needs to pray. I get in there quickly, man.
And Jay, we gotta close it up.
Does it help?
No, I'm with you. But you are open though to crazy faith and a crazy call from God, even being the president of South Africa.
100%. Because the reason
walk around these walls.
100%. But you must
don't bow down. Don't listen.
But
that's what the world is saying.
But it won't come out like that. That's my point. Because there's no, if God says to Moses, speak to the rock once, and then the next time he says to him, strike the rock. Moses' problem was, he was like, first time you said I should speak to, the same thing and water came out. Now you want me to hit, what's the difference? It's the same rock, it's the same water. They don't understand that God has different models to get the same thing out. And so that's what we should be open for. That's why God did the whole Biza thing. It's not Pastor Ash that God is using to bring about the kind of impact that's happening right now. God shifts it and uses a drunk character to do that. Because God's trying to show you, I'm going to get the water out of the rock, but instead of speaking to it, I'm striking it this time. Yeah. And that's the thing, because that's what I'm saying. Even with the religious grain, we're going against the religious grain.
Yeah.
Are we interested in people living good lives? If we are, then that's what our focus should be, because that's the desire of God for our people.
100%. Guys, we got to call it a day. We need to have a part 2 because I still wanted to get into some other issues, but then it really becomes political because I wanted to get into that side of the thing. But be that as it may, time is caught up with us, and we're gonna have to call it a day. But
can I just say, as we close, I just want to say, because I want to put it like this here, that you see what's happening with the Patriotic Alliance and how we won a war that not even Nelson Mandela could win. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I ask you to challenge anybody to tell me, how did that happen? Political analysts can't explain it. Mm-hmm. My answer is God. And anybody that wants to challenge that cannot even scientifically refute that. And that's what God wants to do. If we go in parliament, we go with faith. We're going to bring about change that normal intellect couldn't. And then we can confidently say, God did this. And then we challenge scientists and everybody else, say, challenge it.
challenge it, and they can't because it's
Yeah.
gone. So essentially it boils down to a major prophet, like the big, like the Daniels, like the three Hebrew boys that stood up that spoke truth to power. Like, and we all know what the rot of the country generally is corruption. It is, people being power hungry, people wanting to eat the money, and we all know that a lot of what's going on is very financially driven. Get a 10 billion here, get a 50 billion there, and then nobody can account for the money just disappearing into thin air. I think what Ash is saying, and just to kind of round it all off, is to say that the governance should be clean, should be morally right standing, should be in that manner, so that we can, live together properly and not have people that are in it for personal gain or just drive agenda so that they can make funding out
And
of
if
it.
a scientist who's gay can help us, I'm not gonna say because you're gay.
I'm not going to listen. You
Man,
have to listen.
God can use anybody.
I mean,
if
the
God can use
prostitute-
Biza,
The prostitute,
Right,
he can use whoever, bro.
that's scripture,
And
right?
that's scripture, yeah. But guys, we gotta
Let's have
call it a
love.
day.
Hey, this is nice, man.
That's
Now
why-
I'm getting it.
You see,
Wow.
that's how I'm saying we need to do a part 2, because now we're getting into it.
Let's love one another. I don't care who
Facts.
you are.
Now we're really
I
getting
think,
into it.
I think, and I've always said this: love is the most powerful tool. I mean, 3 things that last forever: faith, hope, and love.
But the
God
greatest
doesn't
of
even
these-
say faith. Faith comes second to love, and broski, I'm with you. You got my vote already.
100%. Got mine too. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching today's show. Let's just be honest. We gotta do a part 2. So after Ash is busy, done with all his ups and downs, or if we can grab him just aside quickly, just for an hour to grab his attention, we're gonna do that again. So you gotta get a part 2 of this. So if you want a part 2, please do subscribe. Please hit this the notification bell. Ash, thank you so much for pulling up today. It's been an honor.
I'm busy. I just want to say, money paisane in English. Don't be sad.
Paris, thank you so much for showing up today, man.
Honor and a privilege, broski.
It's been fire. The office is closed. We coming through to give you exclusive content with skeleton stuff. But we here, man, because we need you guys to pay attention and to be here. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one. Love you. Bye-bye. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to it.
Good morning to the folks. What up to the youngins, and bless up to the world.
And then Jay just put your info on blast like that.
It's what the people want to know, bro. My bad.
Nah, bro.
Call me up your ass.